presentation. Angelina and I are from FRC Team 4087, and Lily and Sarah are from FRC Team 1622, Team Spyder. And we are going to get started. So I'm sure everyone saw this. You guys can introduce yourselves if you like.
Okay. Hi, my name is Sarah Wilson. I'm on Team Spyder 1622, and I'm the business lead on our team this year.
Hi, I'm Lily Rucker. I'm on FRC Team Spyder 1622, and I'm the VP of Business.
Should I introduce myself too? Hi, I'm Lena. I'm on FRC Team 4087. I am the current awards director, and last year I served as our team's business director.
And my name is Amy Njai, and I am the president this year for FRC Team 4087. And last year, I served as outreach director, and the year before that, I served as business director. So we're just going to get started now. So,
okay.
Go ahead, sorry.
All right, so Team 4087 is going to cover the business section of this seminar. So we want to start off with a general overview. What is business? So business is basically the procurement of funding. That includes sponsorships, fundraising, grants. Basically anything that brings in revenue will fall under business. And it may also include your team's image. It honestly depends on your team structure for this one, since some teams have separate media or branding sub-teams. But I like to think of business and branding as very interconnected, because the image that you project out into the world is going to affect whether you attract possible sponsorships or not. So I think that's pretty important.
Okay, so how do you find funding? This is generally the biggest question that people ask regarding business and FIRST. So there are a couple of different ways. The ways that we get funding are through grant applications. That's the first one. And usually you can apply for a grant online through a STEM organization. Like a local STEM organization is some of where we get our grants from. And then there are also online grant applications that you can get for just general funding. That can be from things other than STEM organizations. It can also be websites like we use Donors Choose that are dedicated to just getting grants for classrooms. And since we are associated with our school, then we can apply for those grants through Donors Choose. Another way is local businesses. So local businesses generally don't have as much funding as large organizations or corporations, but they can still provide you with space if you want to do some type of event there. They can provide you with monetary funding, and then they can also provide you with things like food. There are a lot of teams in our area that get funding for competitions by just getting funding for food. So they don't have to spend that money on food during competition season. Two ways that you can do funding through local businesses. The first is code calling. So that means that you might have like a brochure or some type of like pamphlet or some type of visual that you can bring to a company, and you can just walk in and talk to them about funding, or you can call them. That's another option. And then you can also email them in advance and figure out how to do some type of presentation. The last area where we do our fundraising are through school events. So there are a couple of different school events that our school has that clubs are allowed to fundraise at, and one of those is International Fest. That's usually where a club can pick a country in the world, and then they can sell food or sell merchandise that fits that theme, and then that's one way you can fundraise. Another fundraising tip is bake sales. So our school does a lot of bake sales. You can sign up to do one, and some way, if your school doesn't do consistent bake sales, you can ask if you can do bake sales like after school or at lunch or something like that, and then people can buy your goods, or you could contact a local organization, which is something that we wanted to do this year, and sell outside of their business. And then the last one are alumni funds. So reaching out to alumni and asking basically if they'll give back. So one thing that's very important when fundraising is making some type of goal and having a why. People usually don't just give you money or give you donations because you're just in STEM. Although some organizations are specifically have money set away for STEM, you should always have a why. So that means that, like I said before, having some type of visual that will explain what your team does, like what your team is about, what's your mission, what's your vision, why are you in STEM, why are you promoting STEM, and why basically should we make a donation to you, why should we give you money. And one way to do that is to ask for specific causes. So not necessarily just asking for money directly, just in general saying we need money, but asking for specific things. I talked before about competition meals. That's something that a lot of teams do. Another thing is competition fees. You can say, we'd like to go to this competition. And that's a great way to get money. And then the last one is asking for like new machinery, or something like that. Basically saying, we need to have a chop saw, or we need to have these kinds of drills to carry out our mission, to make sure that we can build our robot. And then there are two different types of fundings that will basically change depending on your goal. So there's monetary and there's in-kind, is something that I've kind of talked about before. Monetary is just money funding. That's actual dollars in donation. And then in-kind are goods and services. So a service could be like one of our sponsors, Lockheed Martin, will give mentors, and depending on the amount of hours that mentor is with the team, they'll also give a certain amount of money. So it's kind of an incentive for both of us, and then also an incentive for the mentors who help us. And then other in-kind donations look like food, materials, like I talked about before, or any other type of service, whether that's like a space for a workshop or something like that. And yes, just again, it's very important to have a why, because people will more likely be able to get on board if you have a why for what you're doing and why you need money. The last, well, not the last, but one of the other important things is having a budget. So what that looks like is basically sorting out your funds. One way that we sort our funds is we have a few different sections. We have our regional funding, so that's funding for competition and food. And then we have our robot funding, that's funding for all the different materials that we need. And then we have our travel funds, which is basically if we're going to a competition, if we're going to drive there, how much does gas cost? How much do we have to pay the drivers? All of these different things. So it's very important to sort your funds to make sure that you have enough money to complete your goals. And another important thing is to make sure that not only is it sorted and organized, but it's accessible to the people that it needs to be accessible for. Angelina is going to talk a little bit about what a general business or awards team looks like. And well, she's going to talk a little bit more about what a business team looks like and how that is kind of split up and what that means. But it's important for your team, the people that need to have the document of funds, that they have it. And one way that we do that is we have a Google Drive just for business. And in that Google Drive, you'll have the different documents pertaining to sponsors, and then you'll also have the budget spreadsheet. We worked with our school grant coordinator to do our budgeting, because all of our money goes through our school, but we still have access to that spreadsheet, and we can make edits to it to make sure that we stay on track.
Okay, So as Amy previously mentioned, we can often get sponsorship from local businesses, and we also get them from corporate organizations. So to incentivize the sponsorship, we have levels of sponsorship. So that means that with the different amounts of money that they donate to us, we'll give back a different level of recognition and reward, basically. So as seen on the slides, you can tell our different levels. We have contributor, which is less than $250, bronze, which is if they donate $250 to $500, silver, which is $500 to $999, gold, platinum, diamond, and those are just all rising levels of money. So for each of those levels, we give a specific type of recognition back. So for contributor, we might just give back a thank you card and a copy of our newsletter. But if you're a diamond or a platinum sponsor, then you'll get all of our thank yous. So you'll get a card, a social media shout out, a logo on the website, a logo on our pip. Basically, we just give back to recognize them and to incentivize them to level up in our levels of sponsorship. And we believe that that helps very strongly make our sponsors feel appreciated. Another thing that we'd like to say is that with your sponsors, you always want to remain in steady contact with them, because a lot of teams, they get a sponsorship and then they just don't follow up and they don't keep that connection going. You always want to keep a connection. You want to send out emails. Some teams do newsletters, which I think is a great idea. I've heard a lot of teams use MailChimp, I think it's called, to send out monthly newsletters to their sponsors. And I've heard that works really well, just to give monthly updates and keep them feel connected. And you just always want to recognize them and thank them for their contribution, because it obviously helps a lot and we appreciate that very much. Onto our team structure. So in the business team structure, we have the business director, which basically oversees all business functions. So that means that you're going to manage the budget, you're going to oversee all fundraising and all sponsorships. And underneath the business director, there are project managers. This allows the business director to delegate tasks down to them. So the business director might get a sponsorship, right? And then they'll tell their project manager to organize a presentation for that sponsor, or they'll tell them to organize a fundraising event or something. The project managers are basically just people that the business director will delegate important tasks to, and then they'll fulfill those tasks. And then below all of that is the data collectors, and they'll coordinate with the outreach and awards to maintain data information from business events or related topics, because most teams need to have a steady base of data collection. I'd advise using a spreadsheet to collect all of this, that way you'd always have something to keep your awards data, your outreach data, your business data in. We just want data collectors for basically every team, but it's very important in business because money, you got to keep track of that. And then we also have the business structure at competition. So again, the business director oversees all of this to make sure that sponsors are sent media and status updates from the competition. This is very important. Most teams, while they're in competition, they'll post updates daily on their Facebook or something, letting the sponsors know what's happening and updating them. You always want to stay in contact with your sponsors during competition. That way they see the level of impact that their donations and their funding is having for your team, so they'll feel like they're part of your success. The other things that will happen is the project managers, they'll act as scouts during competition. So they will basically gather data on how to make your own team's business stronger. So they'll approach other teams about business and gather more information about how to do better and about other types of fundraising. I've noticed a lot of teams with strong business sub-teams will host seminars. That's really good for your project managers to attend. I remember when we attended, I think it was Worlds, we attended the Smoky Mountain Business Summit. That was really great. They gave us a lot of information on fundraising that we applied into our team. So I'd always advise attending those seminars. And again, the data collections will act as scouts and or help with media, and they'll make sure the media team has the pictures necessary to send to sponsors. Very important. We really need that. And so our team image. So as previously mentioned, I believe that branding falls under business. However, some teams, our team recently made the divide between media and business because our team grew to have the support base necessary for both sub-teams. But so branding will fall under business oftentimes because you want to make yourself look attractive to sponsors, basically. The image that you project out into the world and out to your sponsors will affect the amount of money that you'll get, the donations that you'll get. So your team image correlates very strongly to the success of your business sub-team. So oftentimes we'll use our social media to connect with our sponsors. So we'll use our website, which is shown on this slide, our Instagram, our Facebook, and that will allow sponsors to see our updates and stay in touch with us. and it just provides a platform for sponsors to see how we're doing, and for anyone who wants to make a donation to learn more about our team and to see what our team is all about, basically. And then if you're like very interested in branding, I would advise for your team to have a branding handbook, since a lot of teams, our team actually, we've had troubles in the past where our branding isn't as regulated as we'd like it to be. You want to have a very concise image of your team. I've seen Cheesy Poofs do a really good job with this, where they have a branding handbook that basically regulates everything about how they're presenting themselves to the world and to their sponsors. And that will always help, because you always want to have the clearest possible image of your team so that your sponsors and anyone interested has the best possible idea of what you're doing and who you are. And then, so if you want to expand your brand, you really just want to have a team. For our team in the past, that was Falcon Robotics and Be Inspired, inspire others. So all of our past designs for buttons and shirts have included a little falcon on them and our team number. That was basically our central theme in the past, and we heavily emphasized our motto on all of our shirts and all of our items, and that was very important to us. So in your theme, you can also include, beyond the slogan and your motto, you can include a team uniform for different occasions. I've noticed other teams like Clockwork Mania, I think, and like LNN STEM Punks, they have that like the steampunk look, and I feel like that's very interesting, and it creates a team image that's very uniform, and that always helps. And you also want to connect to your team's name with your logo and your merchandise, because you want to create a concise image of your team. And then again, your merchandise, spreading out your merchandise is great. That's going to spread your team's image farther, let more people know about you. So that's very important.
One thing to add about the uniform, on the picture towards the bottom, you can see two different shirts. We don't necessarily have a uniform because we just use our shirts, but they can be used for different events. Like if we want a cleaner look, we can use the one on the left. If we want to make sure that people know who our sponsors are, we can use the one on the right. And that just makes for a cleaner look. And then you can also see we have different types of merchandise, like the hats in the picture on the right. Other teams do like different types of merchandise each year. Like they might do keychains, they might do watches. Like I think Team Spyder did watches before, and just like a lot of different trinkets that people can use and buy.
So if anyone has any questions, we thank you for attending our section of the presentation. And here are all of our social medias, our Instagram, our Facebook, our Twitter, and our website. So if you're interested in learning more about us or in contacting us, you can visit any of those platforms. Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask now?
You can either just like speak up, or you can type them in the chat. We'll be happy to answer them.
All right, so I guess it looks like we don't have any questions. I'm gonna take that as a good sign that we did a good job. Thank you guys, really appreciate it.
Do you want to do you have any like questions that you think that we could pull out that people?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So some example questions. When I first started as business director, I didn't know what companies were known for sponsorship within first. So Amy, if you'd like to answer that, what companies could I approach if I wanted a first sponsorship?
Yeah, so you can see this on this slide right here. These are some of the companies that a lot of teams are sponsored by. Some examples, this is one of the designs that we use actually for our pit to recognize our sponsors. But some big companies are Dow, which sponsor a lot of teams. Monsanto sponsors a lot of teams, and also SolidWorks sponsors a lot of teams. SolidWorks is a CAD company, so usually if your team uses SolidWorks, then you can ask for a SolidWorks sponsorship. And then a lot of teams also have private donors. So what that can mean is like if you get in contact with your school, they can send out alumni information, and that's a way that we get money. Our school contacts the school alumni, and they can donate to basically the STEM section of our team or of the school, and then that money part of it will go to our team. And then some other sponsorships, we highly encourage you to get in contact with local people. So one thing that we've done is just like basically look up STEM organizations in my area. And then that's one way to start, like if you don't know a lot of the STEM organizations. And I'm sure if you approach your school, or if you're associated with a school, if you approach them and say we need money and ask them if there's a way to get a sponsorship, then they probably have a whole database of people that you could contact. But those were just like a few examples that like a lot of teams are sponsored by. Oh, and it's also, it might be good to get a mentor that's just for business. So that's something that we've struggled with in the past. Like we just had technical mentors, so mentors that were engineers and who specialized and basically just helping out with like programming and construction of the robot. But it's also important to have business and awards and outreach mentors who can help you with that stuff. So we don't have a business mentor, but we're currently looking for one. And what you want in a business mentor, someone who's worked at least like in the business industry, if that makes sense, like whether it was for like a company or for like accounting or something like that. So they know basically how to approach businesses. I don't know if your team or like Dr. Nguyen wants to talk more about that.
What's your question again?
Basically just like what do you look for in a business mentor or like a business and awards mentor?
Okay. Well, I would say that you, in terms of business wise, obviously you don't need someone that's technical, engineering. So as a matter of fact, I think it's just any parent on the team can also advocate as a business mentor. I myself is a parent on the team. So, and I also own a business too. And I have no knowledge of engineering background whatsoever. But in this instant, you know, on the robotics team, the business aspect I can help with. So I think, you know, not necessarily having to reach out completely. And if you can't find anyone in the community on your own team, I think there's plenty of parents that can help out.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. We are looking for a business mentor outside of parents because a lot of our students at our school just usually move out of our state when we have a big like brain drain in Louisiana. So they move out of our state, and when they go to college, their parents will sometimes follow them and we'll lose that connection. But that's why we are looking for a mentor. But we do have a parent-like association where they do advocate a lot for us. So they'll contact organizations, or for example, like one of our members this year got an internship through just like parent advocacy. So I think that's actually a really good point. Like having the parents be involved and that way is a good way for them to get involved, in a good way to have a mentor in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously you do want to go out into your community to get a mentor too, but in the meantime, I think, you know, it's a great idea to tap into what you have, you know, on campus, you know, with the Parents Association or the foundation, or even on the robotics team.
Right, that's important. Does anyone else have questions? Or Angelina, do you have any other questions?
No, I don't.
Okay. Team Spyder, do you guys want to add anything?
Maybe like piggybacking off what you were talking about just now, you also could probably reach out to teachers, like an English teacher or something, because for us, whenever we have like our chairman's essay or something, even though like they're not actually mentors on the team, we sometimes have them look over it, especially like AP English teachers, because they can also check for like grammar and stuff like that. So that can also be helpful.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing I'd say is just like use your resources first, because especially if you're a team starting out and you don't have a lot of connections, it could be very beneficial to just contact the people you know and see if they're willing to do it, because you might be surprised at how willing people are to help you out. And one thing that we have with our connection with Lockheed Martin and Interlocks, we do a mentor presentation for all first teams in New Orleans to get mentors every year. And usually there are people that are willing to step up that don't have the technical experience, but are part of like their PR team or their HR team. And they'll reach out to us and they'll help us out with like our chairman's award. And they'll just like help us with editing and help us with like fixing the image of it and whatever. So yeah, but use your resources first, because you're more likely to well, I'm not gonna say more likely, but it's better to just like strengthen your local connections before you start reaching out to wider people. Any other questions before we move on to awards? Here's our media again, and we'll also send it out to everyone after this with a survey. All right, let's move on.
Okay. So me and Lily are going to talk about the awards for the business awards. So I'm just going to remind everyone, my name is Sarah. And Lily,
Yeah, and I'm Lily.
next slide. Okay, so a little bit about our team first, just to introduce ourselves. So our team was founded in 2005, and we were located in Poway, California, which is part of San Diego County. This past year, we had over 60 student members. And then last year at the First World Championships, we won the Imagery Award. We are also 4-time Chairman's Award recipients, 5-time Engineering Inspiration Award recipients, and 3-time Entrepreneurship Award recipients. And our team is also known as being the safety team. So we have won 23 Underwriters Laboratory Safety Awards. Excellent. Our team also participates in a lot of outreach. So one of the main things we do is we start and mentor lots of teams, both locally and globally. And so this is including teams at all levels of FIRST robotics, so FLL Junior, FLL, FTC, FRC, and even FGC, which is the first global competition teams. And those include teams like Team Bolivia, Team Paraguay, Team Benin, Team Togo, etc. We also host many local and global competitions, so FLL qualifying events, specs competitions, and we've hosted a few competitions when we've traveled to Paraguay. We also participate in many outreach events, both locally and globally, annually. Next slide. We're going into the first award. So the Chairman's Award is the most prestigious award at FIRST. It is a team that honors the team that best represents a model for other teams to emulate. It also honors a team that best embodies the mission of FIRST. It also encourages more of today's youth to become science technology leaders. So the Chairman's Award is an accumulation of 5 years worth of work. This is different from the Engineering Inspiration Award, which I'll talk about next, because Engineering Inspiration is only taking into account 1 year's worth of work. And then also FIRST added something new this year, and that's that teams have to provide documentation to prove that they started, mentored, and assisted other teams. So we'll talk about that form later in this presentation, but basically teams have to provide documentation that could be in the form of a letter from the team that you've mentored or assisted or started, or could be a picture of an email chain of you communicating with the team, or a screenshot of a Zoom, etc. If you want more info on Chairman's Award, I have linked the FIRST website to that as well. Next slide. And next slide, sorry. Oh, sorry, no, go back. I'm sorry, I just, okay, the Engineering Inspiration Award. So the Engineering Inspiration Award is different, like I said, than the Chairman's Award, because it's only talking about 1 year's worth of work. instead of 5 years, which is the Chairman's Award. So it celebrates the outstanding success in advancing respect and appreciation for engineering within a team, school, or organization and community. It also demonstrates the extent and effectiveness of community outreach efforts and the team's efforts to recruit students to engineering. In addition, it also shows the team's commitment to science, technology, education among the team, school, and community, and it shows that the team's achievement of the first mission, and also shows their ability to communicate that. So in order to be competitive for this award, you have to show measurable success for everything, and you have to show that your efforts are ongoing. And also link the website, the first website, if you want more information on that. Next slide. So now the Entrepreneurship Award. The Entrepreneurship Award celebrates the entrepreneurial spirit and enthusiasm. It also recognizes a team that has developed a comprehensive business plan in order to define, manage, and achieve the team's ongoing objectives. So this team also demonstrates vital planning and business skills to ensure a self-sustaining program. And to compete for this award, you have to bring a summary business plan to the judges, and you have to be able to explain to the judges how this summary business plan helps to ensure the team's continued participation in FIRST. And I linked the FIRST website for this award as well, if you want more information. Now moving on to the Rookie All-Star Award. So the Rookie All-Star Award is only for rookie teams, and it's basically a Chairman's Award team in the making. So rookie teams aren't able to compete in the Chairman's Award because, like I said, it's an accumulation of 5 years worth of work, and as a rookie team, you don't have 5 years worth of work to compete for it. So they offer the Rookie All-Star Award. So this is an award that celebrates the rookie team that exemplifies a young but strong partnership effort. It's also a team that is a true partnership between the school or organization sponsors, and the team that understands what FIRST is really trying to accomplish and realizes that technical stuff is fun, challenging, and offers a future. And then in order to compete for this award, your team also has to be able to build a robot that is competitive and appropriate to the game's challenges. So you can't just have a robot that sits and does nothing. It actually has to compete. And once again, link the FIRST website for more information on that.
Okay, so the Chairman's Award submission process. The Chairman's essay and short answer questions will be submitted through a youth team member's registration system. The head coach has the ability to decide who on the team submits the Chairman's Award. There are 13 short answer questions, which each have a 500 character maximum, and the Chairman's essay has a 10,000 character maximum. And there's also the option to submit a 3-minute long video during the submission process, but a team also has the option to submit it during the Chairman's interview on a USB flash drive with the team's name and number on it. And during the award interview, you also can submit any Chairman's documentation forms and other materials like a documentation binder or business plan. Next slide. So a Chairman's team must provide a video to the Chairman's judges during the interview on a USB flash drive. It's important to have it clearly labeled and secured with your team's documentation binder. Chairman's Award interviews are limited to 12 minutes total. The team has 7 minutes to present to the judges, which includes the setup of any props, and up to 5 minutes of questions from the judges. There are no more than 3 student members who are allowed to present information or answer questions from the judges, and only one adult team mentor may attend the interview as a silent observer and later provide feedback to the team, but the mentor is not allowed to provide any assistance during the interview. Also, if a team wants written feedback from judges, they'll be able to receive it upon request, but to receive the feedback, teams must submit a form of the Chairman's Award that includes the team's name and number on it, and the judges will provide feedback on it. Next slide. So mission and vision statements. It's really important for a team to create a mission and vision statement in order to be successful and achieve its goals. A mission statement defines a team's objectives and its approach to reach those objectives. A vision statement describes the desired future position of the team. So our team's vision is a generation of leaders prepared to inspire global change through STEM education. And our team's mission statement is transforming our community locally and globally by promoting STEM diversity, especially for the underserved and disadvantaged. Team Spyder utilizes this strategy and adapts a new vision and mission statement every 5 years. Both team leaders, mentors, and coaches all work together to brainstorm the purpose and future plan of action that best fits the team for the new chapter. Next slide. So documentation is very important to show your impact and prove a team's credibility. There are many forms of documentation such as pictures, flyers, emails, newspapers, magazines, and Google Forms. Team Spyder creates one-pagers for each outreach event that a team member attends. If you look to the right, we have our outline that we follow, which includes a picture of the event, a description for the picture, a description of the event, and a quote on the student's experience. These are very simple way to record information and also stay organized. You can go on to the next slide. So Sarah had mentioned earlier that there was a new thing added this past year. So teams are encouraged by first to provide documentation during the interview to judges using the chairman's documentation form, which is shown right here. It's not required, which means you can still be eligible without this form, providing it shows the judges that your activities are well planned and documented. Oh yeah, it's on the screen. Yeah, that's it. And you would fill it out for teams you started, teams you mentored, events you hosted, and events you run. So, next one. So our timeline for the season. So this is our timeline. Although it's not mentioned here, we do outreach events all throughout the year, and we mentor teams throughout the year as well. So we're always doing one-pagers and documentation for mentoring. So in August, we mainly do training and preparation for the season and for the newcomers and deciding what sub-teams people are on. So in September, normally people know what sub-team they want to be on, so they can figure that out, and they also start mentoring teams. In October, we host competitions for FLL, FLL Junior, and VEX, and we continue mentoring them throughout their season. In November, we host competitions and work on the first draft of the chairman's essay. In December, we work on the second draft of the chairman's essay, and we work on the chairman's video. And we also work on our banner that we have up in the pits. In January, we work on our impact sheets, our business plan, and our engineering inspiration booklet. We also work on the chairman's speech, and in February, we finalize the chairman's mission and assign presenters for the pitch or talking to the judges in the room. In March is competition season, and we continue to work on the chairman's binder. And in April, we finish competition season and we start working on our new leadership for the following season. Next slide. So here we have our team Instagram, and we also have our SweNext Instagram. We also have our team website. So yeah, are there any questions for Sarah or I?
I have a question.
Okay.
So one thing that we usually struggle with is staying on track for chairmans, I guess, because we usually create a plan in the beginning of the year, and it's not necessarily like we go so off track, but sometimes we don't meet exact due dates, or we don't have all the information we need. So I guess, like, what's your way of staying on schedule?
Well, we're not always the best with staying on schedule either, but what we try and do is just set certain dates. And we also try to split up the work between members so that it's not like everyone, it's not so it's so general. But if you want, you can go back to the slide. I think it was the next slide to see like, yeah, so our timeline. So we just try to, I mean, splitting up the work's mainly all we really do, and just making sure there's actually due dates. And if we get behind, we always end up just like staying more in the classroom and working more just so we can like finish everything out. But, yeah. Any other questions?
You mentioned stuff about like documentation here about each event. This is something that we want to implement for the upcoming year, because usually we have like whoever was organizing the event with like submissions or like registration, we collect data that way. But sometimes on the back end of things, like after the event happens, we like information gets lost and sometimes stuff happens. So I guess like, how do you keep all of that stuff organized?
So we create a big spreadsheet for each outreach event that we do, and normally we would assign someone to write it. So like if we were in the classroom, we would have someone either during the meeting or we'd email them and just have them give us all the information, and then we'd actually put it together. But we are just starting, since we're probably going to be online, we made a Google form that people can fill out once they do an outreach event or like go to a Zoom meeting or something. So it's way easier to fill out, and it's going to be, and they can fill it out right after they go to the outreach event. So yeah, we just save them all on our drive.
You know,
So
I
is
can
that
also,
Google? Oh, do you mind if I talk or?
Go for it.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry. So is that Google form gonna replace the one paper template that y'all were talking about, or is it just an addition to that?
No, so the Google form just has all the, like you can fill out each piece of information, but we're going to be transferring that information to the actual sheet. So they'll each have their own individual sheet, but as it's set up, it's just like exactly what it says, like describe the picture, so someone can write a description for the picture and like include a picture, and it's just a way to get all the information like easy, especially when we're not going to be able to be in contact with people and like have it all the data.
And like,
So,
is that
go
you
ahead,
continue?
sorry.
Okay. Is that one page long enough to collect all of the information? Like, does that fully encompass everything? Or are there any more questions that like you would recommend adding?
So normally we would also say like if you have other documentation, that's always helpful. So if you have like emails or like as I had said, or like Google Forms or stuff like that. So like if you just have other things, it can help prove that you're actually doing the stuff. But normally the description doesn't take that long. Like the biggest portion is like the description of the event, which is like 3 to 4 sentences at least. So it's not that much.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
so I can also add one more thing. If you go to Team Spyder website, and as you scroll down, what you will see is a calendar of all our events. So it's quite transparent what we do on the team, right? So the business team actually go back into that calendar every now and then to make sure that they're doing the one pagers for all the outreach that we do, because sometimes it gets lost, but it's all there, right, Lily?
Okay.
Yeah, I can add on to that as well, because we also go back to our Instagram and because we post all of our outreach events on our Instagram as well, and we go back and just verify our events that way as well. along with using the calendar.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely a combination of both, because we try to post everything that we do on Instagram, so it's basically pretty much an open book what we do on Team Spyder and on the Poway High School Street Next Club. But every now and then, our calendar is where everything is, and you can really go in and see exactly what we're doing on the team. And it's not just for members, on the team, but the whole school can see it too. And then obviously you guys too, if you want to go in and see what we're up to, you can see that every activity that we're doing, every outreach we're doing is there.
I think that would be beneficial to like implement for us. Like we have a calendar, but it's just for ourselves, and we usually don't include all of our outreach events on it. It's mainly just to coordinate with parents with meetings. So yeah, that would be beneficial for especially organization and not getting things lost.
Yeah, it's good for it's good for the team overall, because everyone knows exactly what we're doing. But at the same time, parents goes on and find out what's going on too, because sometimes their kids don't necessarily convey what's going on, so they can check there too. And then obviously, because we have everything transparent on the calendar, you know exactly what's going on.
Are there any other questions?
Sure, I'll ask a question. So I guess Lily and Sarah, what's your favorite thing on the business team?
Ooh, that's a hard question. I like how close I become with everyone on the team, because you're spending so many hours together. So I just like how everyone becomes like so close. And I don't know. I also just like a lot of the work and being able to talk to so many different people and being able to talk to sponsors and just everyone at like the competitions is really fun.
Yeah, I'd say that's a hard question. But I'd say my favorite part is probably talking judges at competitions, because it's really like fun getting to share like what our team does with someone else, and also talking to other teams at competitions, and like learning about their team and then telling them about our team. It's really I really enjoy doing that.
How about you, Amy? What's your favorite thing about, I guess this is your senior year, right?
Yeah. So I've been in I'd say virtually every section of the team besides programming. And I think what I enjoy most about like the business and awards and outreach side of the team that you don't really get to have on the technical side of the team are just a lot of fun moments when you're writing essays and like, spreadsheeting and stuff. It's I don't know. It just becomes a community, I guess, echoing what Lily was talking about. You spend a lot of time together, and you make a lot of connections that way with your team. And that's honestly what makes the outreach team so strong on our team. We don't have that many people on the outreach side of our team, which is something that we're hoping will be different this year. We're changing our recruitment style. But definitely like the people on the outreach team are really tight together, and it definitely helps with getting things done, and presenting is just like very fluid, and because there's just good connection between everyone. It's not stiff.
Well, I think one of the things that's really important too is that I think Team Spyder don't particularly have an outreach team per se. There's a VP of outreach, but literally speaking, the whole team is the outreach team, and the whole team mentors other team. So whether you're a veteran on the team or not, if you're not a veteran, you shadow a veteran to mentor teams. So everyone on the team is on the outreach team, right? Lily and Sarah?
Yeah, everyone's required to do 2 outreach events every trimester for us. So I make sure everyone's getting involved.
That's really good. That's
Yeah.
something that we're struggling with, and something like that I am definitely working on over the summer. That's why we're doing these workshops and doing the CAD classes that we've been doing these past couple weeks, because generally our outreach has only been focused on like we do a STEM camp, and we also do a like FLO fast start. So people usually go to those, and like we have the whole team participate. But besides that, like our outreach team and our like the technical side and the outreach side are very divided. And that because of that, there's not very much understanding of like the technical side and the outreach side of like how it all connects and what it means to be a first team. It's more of just like, we do robotics and we do spreadsheets, and there's no connection. So that's something that's definitely been changing, like that type of culture, because everybody's starting to like understand that like it's not just about like building a robot. Like there's so much more to a first team, and like moving into that, like the whole team is an outreach team, rather than like there's just this one section of the team that does outreach, and those are the only people that can do outreach. So yeah.
Yeah, Amy is definitely doing a great job at pushing more people into outreach, because a lot of members on the technical side of the team, they just want to stay technical. Like they have no interest in outreach, but then once they start it, they find that they really love it. And I think that Amy's really doing a good job at pushing more people to explore outreach and giving them more opportunities. So we appreciate that change. You're great, Amy.
Do other
And
oh sorry.
how about you, Angelina? I think we skipped you.
Yeah.
What are your
Oh, I do awards in business, and I've only been on outreach my entire time on the team, because I personally just found the technical side not as interesting to me. And I think my favorite part is like what Amy said, just writing the essays with other people. It's so much fun, and it's such a good bonding experience. And I think I'm excited to have a bigger team on the outreach side next year. But also, I really like the small team that we've had all these years, because it's allowed us to form some really close bonds. And it's just really sweet experience. And I really enjoy all of that. Yeah. But does anyone have any more questions for any of the teams present? Does anyone want to discuss anything more?
And we had a presentation on outreach and media with Team Spyder last week on Friday. So like you can go back and watch that, like if you have any questions pertaining to that, but we can also answer them now as well. Like if you have questions in general about like outreach, media, awards, data, business, because they're all interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I have one question. Sarah, why don't you tell everyone about what you do globally for outreach?
Oh, so like I had mentioned earlier, we do a lot of outreach events locally and globally. So this includes mentoring teams. So many of our team members mentor first global challenge teams. Like, so personally, me and another team member mentor Team Bolivia, which is the FGC team from Bolivia. Our team also mentors Team Paraguay, Team Benin, Team Togo. There's a few others. And then in addition, we also travel to some of these places to actually interact with the teams. So last summer, I traveled to Paraguay with a few of my other teammates and then 2 of our coaches. And we helped run a little like scrimmage thing in one of the malls in Paraguay. And we also got to visit just with the team and then visit the university down in Paraguay to help spread STEM down there. We also hosted an FRC team from Brazil this past competition season for the regional that we were able to compete in. So a few of our team members hosted a few of the Brazilian team members from their team at our houses. So I had the privilege of getting to host 3 of them at my house, and it was a really fun experience. They were all like super nice, and we would take them to dinner and everything, and make them feel welcome, and then take them competitions with us, and it was really exciting. So we do a lot of global stuff because our team wants to spread STEM around the world and to make it accessible for anyone in different countries and everything. So, yeah. If there's any questions on that.
How do you guys get in contact with global teams? And also, how do you maintain like mentoring them over the course of years?
So we get in contact with them, and a lot of the teams have like team Instagrams and other social media, which is an easy way to get in contact with other teams, organizations. Plus, I think through FRC you can also find out which teams are involved. And then to maintain communications, so we have a lot of like for Team Bolivia specifically, we communicate through Google Hangouts, and we like send messages back and forth and have like video calls, and just they give us updates on how they're doing like during their competition season, and we give them like tips and like advice. If they have questions, we answer them, and also communicating through emails. Since they're in a different country, you can't really talk face to face until we travel to that place. But communicating over Google Hangouts and texting and Zoom. Now we've had Zooms with like some of the teams from Paraguay. That's the main ways we stay in contact with them. So.
Well, I think also because we're very active in social media, there's teams that do direct message us for help. And so that's kind of like one of the ways that we do meet a lot of global team, if it's not directly through the first global challenge headquarters. So like for instance, for the last regional, the team Taba, Texas from Brazil, they actually did contact us and say, hey, we're coming to San Diego. And we're looking forward to seeing you. And so when they message us that, we offer our hospitality. And so in turns, we end up hosting the whole team. So they actually did not have to get accommodation. So Sarah, our team president, and a few others actually had them stay with them in their home. And, and that's kind of like one of the things that was pretty exciting this last regional. I think Sarah can speak to how, it's probably like one of the best experience on robotics this year is being able to reach out to team globally. And, what's really amazing is that even though like Madeline and I actually traveled to Paraguay last November, and not knowing everyone personally, we get there and it's an amazing experience to think that we're literally a first family. I mean, to think you travel to a different country and all of a sudden you find this understanding with each other immediately. So I think that's one of the things that's pretty amazing about FIRST, is being able to connect everyone. And I think especially during this pandemic, we've been able to connect with a lot of teams, and with team 4087 too, right?
Yeah, like we just got in contact through social media, like just DMing each other. And it was actually like you guys that reached out to us because we were talking about workshops, and then I was talking to Maddie about basically like all the outreach you guys have done. And I was like, wow, you guys are amazing. Like I wish we could like stay in contact, and like we could use some help. And then you guys offered basically to help us on this presentation, which is really amazing. And we thank you so much for it. But yeah, like I think that's just something that we need to focus on more, is just like making sure we're reaching out to other teams. And that's what I'm hoping these workshops will do, because we're very well acquainted with the people, the first teams here locally, but not very much anywhere else, besides like one team in Mexico that we've had here at our regional a couple of times that we've helped and assisted. But besides that, we don't really have any like contact with people that are outside of the southern area. So yeah, we're definitely going to try to implement that stuff this year. Any more questions, comments? And if you ever like have questions that you need answered, like you can always contact either of us. Like we will send out the contact information for our team as well as Team Spyder.
Well, I would say thank you for inviting us.
Of course. Thank you for being here and helping us with the presentation. But thank you everyone who came today, because I know we're all in different time zones and it's kind of hard to coordinate, but thank you for putting in your time. Thank you for being here. We'll send out all this information later, probably tomorrow, so we can make sure that we have everything together and we can send you the recording. If you have any questions, again, like you can contact us. Thank you so much for coming. We enjoyed your presence. I think we're done. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.